the very real victims of retail theft. We got time.
You've seen the videos of brazen
TYT has fallen. Billions of Armenians must live.
and smash and grabs like these, often carried out in broad daylight.
It's an absolute threat.
Why is it so fucking loud? Jesus.
Chicago area Louis Vuitton raided by 14 hooded suspects, making off with over $100,000 worth of luxury items. A flash mob style heist at an Oakland area Nordstrom. This New York jewelry store, windows smashed in with hammers. Federal authorities and retailers are now sounding the alarm about the growing danger of organized retail crime that is sweeping the country.
For a while now, I've been attempting to
Concerning.
slowly ease the political left into admitting and responding to the undeniable truth on the ground in major US cities. Organized retail theft is harming many communities, and we need to be real about it. For one, I don't find it politically advantageous to deny what everyone can witness for themselves. But more importantly, the left loses credibility when its prominent voices claim they want to build a better society for—
It's like a Tucker Carlson intro, you know? Why do you never hear about these organized retail gangs? What are they hiding from you?
ordinary people, while actively making unmerited justifications for crap that actually makes life worse. A prime example of the madness is San Francisco, where organized retail theft has gotten so bad that half the stores in its downtown area have shuttered. A recent CNN report revealed San Francisco's dysfunction, with a local Walgreens hit with 3 thefts.
Wait, half of the stores have shuttered because of the thefts? Wait, like closed because of the thefts specifically? Shops are closing everywhere. I would need to see numbers on that. That's a pretty extraordinary claim that half. Okay.
In just 30 minutes.
Our Kyung Law visited one Walgreens that's hit by shoplifters more than a dozen times a day. It happened 3 times while she was inside.
In the 30 minutes we were at this Walgreens, we watched 3 people, including this man, steal. Did that guy pay? Did that guy pay? He didn't pay.
Now that store has been dubbed the most robbed Walgreens in the country. And I'm sure local political leaders must be super proud to foster the kind of environment necessary to win that honor. I'll get to more on that in just a minute. But first, I want to get to the cover story that the left has
What did that mean? And I bet the local leaders are proud?
fully bought into. That these thieves are desperate. That they're living in poverty and have no choice but to steal because they need to feed their families. Now, first off, the assumption that crimes must be committed by the poor is, pretty damn defamatory toward disadvantaged individuals.
That's great. That's like saying, the reason why crime is higher in these areas with like lots of racial minorities because like the greater economic differentiation. Well, that's pretty racist, don't you think? No, I don't think so. Crime is at its highest in areas of economic inequality. So in areas where there are people who are desperately poor, but there's also a lot of wealth around, that is where the most economic crime takes place. The most crime in general, but especially the most economic crime. If you are poor, but you live in like a super poor rural area, there's not much to benefit from by stealing. And if you're wealthy, stealing's generally not worth your time because it's a risk you don't need to take. There are sometimes you'll hear cases of like high schoolers doing shoplifting, even if they're well off, for like the thrill. And that is a thing. I'm not going to say it's not. I don't think it's a significant representative portion of the overall shoplifting losses. I think it's pretty likely that the vast majority of the shoplifting is being done by people who are economically deprived in some fashion or another, and they're using it to supplement their income or get stuff they need, like baby formula. I think baby formula is like a huge thing that gets shoplifted, which people aren't doing that to resell it, I'll bet you.
Secondly, that claim is, without merit. But let's compare economic rough patches and how they impacted crime. Let's look at the data. Take a look at this pretty incredible chart using data from the John Jay College of Criminal Justice on crimes committed in New York City between 2006 and 2022.
Okay.
Now, you'll notice that there isn't a notable spike in major commercial retail crimes during or immediately after the 2008 economic collapse. In other words, the economic desperation that Americans were experiencing during the last Great Recession did not translate to a significant uptick in retail crime. But the data on this chart makes clear that there was a massive spike in retail crime during the COVID pandemic.
I think that actually there is an interesting point to be made here, but I think there are explanations for it. First of all, the kinds of poverty that we got in 2020 were different from the kinds of poverty we got in 2008 for a wide range of reasons. But there are differences in how this affected people. But also, crime isn't just what happens when people are poor in the presence of wealth. Crime is what happens when people are poor in the presence of wealth and they've lost hope in things getting better. See, even when people are very poor in, say, New York City, they can still hope for an improvement in their situation and being able to get a job or something else. What it speaks to is a lack of social faith. Not only are things really bad, but they're not getting better. It's despair. It's because think, right? Most people don't want to be criminals. It's a dangerous lifestyle. They don't want to go to jail. And what's more, people don't really think of themselves when growing up as the kind of person who's going to sustain themselves by running into a Walgreens, stuffing a backpack, and then skirting out while wearing a mask. These aren't things that people gravitate towards proudly, for the most part. I think that it's a unique combination of poverty, economic inequality, and a particular social attitude which brings about these specific kinds of crimes. I'm sure there are other explanations as well, but I think that's my impression looking at this.
And perhaps, just perhaps, factors other than poverty and desperation account for it.
Well, I agree with that as well, though I don't think people are necessarily wrong to lose faith in the system as it exists. Yeah, the 2008 financial crisis also did tend to hit people in the middle class more than they did the very poor, right? I could be totally wrong on this, but my impression was that the 2008 financial crisis hit people who had investments, housing, that kind of stuff, but it wasn't as much of a wave on people who were recent students or the very poor already. It was it didn't not affect them, but I'm talking proportionally so. I guess I'll try to look into that. I think that's something I could do to learn up on and sort of substantiate with data, because I don't have data at the moment, just an impression. Yeah, my memory of 2008 was people lost homes and people lost long-standing jobs. And my memory of 2020 was people sucking butt sweat from park benches for nourishment. But we'll look into it in the future, okay? In the meantime, I'll give this point to Anna Kasparian because I can't really refute it with anything other than a feeling of mine.
Now, look, to be fair, the one man that we saw in the earlier CNN video could potentially fall into the category of a lone thief who stole a little something because he was hungry. I don't know. But I'm not really interested in petty crimes. The real problem is the ongoing and unmitigated organized crime that we're all paying the price for. The issue has now become so out of control that the federal government is getting involved. Federal authorities now warn it's become an absolute threat to public safety and public health, declaring that violent gangs, dangerous international crime syndicates, and even groups with suspected ties to terrorism are increasingly dabbling in organized retail crime across the United States.
Okay, I really don't think that an unsubstantiated declaration of threat from the feds is necessarily a good indicator for us to go off of. Keep in mind that Attorney General Barr under Trump wanted to try BLM protesters with sedition. I'd be careful with this framing. We're really tying terrorism. Come on, really? Organized retail crime has to be stopped to protect another America from another 9/11. Come on.
Here's more on that.
In April, 3 people were arrested in connection with an organized retail crime operation that allegedly targeted California Home Depots. Authorities recovering $75,000 worth of stolen goods. And Homeland Security officials say the organizations have suspected ties to drug trafficking and terrorism financing.
They're crime syndicates.
Like what? Not really like what? No, I want to know. Drug trafficking I'll take because there is a lot of drug trafficking in the US. What do you mean terrorism financing? What do you mean by that? They're calling the cartel a terrorist group? Oh, well, if that's the case, then we're all connected to terrorism. If that's the case, then that's drug war language right there. Oh, by selling marijuana on the street, you're thereby providing profits to the traffickers who provide profits to the cartels. So actually, every time you sell a gram or like a joint or whatever, you're actually financing terrorism. Like, yeah, fuck off. If that's the case, if that's who they mean by terrorist group, then that's this is drug war bullshit.
That could be tied to local gang networks that maybe have established.
Could be? What do you mean could be? You're cops. This is your job. Find out if they are. What do you mean could be? Could be. Anything could be.
Networks either from the Chilean or Colombian threats or Romanian crews coming in from Eastern European that are
okay, so they have no clue. He's literally just naming shit. This is a cop with a microphone, and he's being asked why what he did is important and necessary to society. He's like, well, for all we know, like, they could have been working with ISIS. They could have been planning another 9/11. It's possible that they have been using these funds to supply ingredients to nuclear refinement in Iran. We don't know, you know?
comfortable in certain cities.
According to the company, this one crew robbed various stores more than 20 times, allegedly stealing a total of $135,000 in merchandise.
Now, Homeland Security officials are also concerned about other groups, including the Aryan Brotherhood and crime rings from Eastern Europe and South America, using organized retail theft to raise funds for their criminal organizations. Raul Aguilar, who serves
This is so fucking disingenuous. The idea that organized retail crime is like a financing motivator for terrorism. Look, if we're talking about crime broadly, does money that gets pocketed on account of crime go to bad causes? Yes, but this is disingenuous to the exact same extent as arguing that every single weed peddler is an associate for terrorists because they have ties to the Colombian cartel. Okay? This is ridiculous. This is absurd. All right? If you have a problem with organized retail crime, then just talk about the effects of organized retail crime. Don't do this like 9/11 gung-ho bullshit of pretending that it's this precursor to global terrorism. Like if you wanted to talk about the problems with drug proliferation in an area, don't go like, well, it's because it finances the cartel, like that, because a ton of things do that. We need to be more specific. What is it actually doing? Yeah, all of this takes place in the shadow of, historically, this stat is from 2012, wage theft being a significantly larger sort of monetary pot than robberies of any kind or of all kinds put together. This is from 2012. It's possible that lately the stats have been shifting closer to one another.
Oversees international organized crime cases for Homeland Security, says there are definitely ties between certain organized retail thieves and drug trafficking organizations, including some of the cartels identified by the United States government as a global threat.
This is the case for literally all economic enterprises in the US. You could argue like certain organized retail thieves, okay, certain drug peddlers, certain bankers, certain everything, okay. Can we get to like the actual thing?
In addition, Aguilar also says that some of these networks.
Oh yeah, here we go. According to the Economic Policy Institute, wage theft costs U.S. workers as much as $50 billion a year, a number far higher than all robberies, burglaries, and motor vehicle thefts combined. Whew.
Are tied to the terrorist financing networks around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of these thieves are.
I, a leftist, love getting my positions on crime and sociology from the Department of Homeland Security. This is traditionally where I get all of my perspectives on socioeconomic issues and the nature of crime. You know, Durkheim, Weber, why? I'm a leftist, man. I've got Raul Aguilar, DHS director. Thank you. Take your theory home. I've got Praxis.
Terrorist financing networks around the world. Now, a lot of these thieves are repeat offenders who are emboldened enough to casually steal in broad daylight.
Another alleged repeat offender.
Oh shit. Okay, play up the spooky music while I look at the face of this, what, teen girl?
This Delaware woman, Ayana Duramas, who authorities say has been on an organized retail crime spree for years. In February, she was caught on surveillance, allegedly stealing 2 Nespresso machines worth nearly $2,000 from a New Jersey Bed Bath & Beyond.
Oh, well, okay, Bed Bath & Beyond is going under anyway, all right? That's just free pickings. It's like stripping copper from a dilapidated house, all right? You know, whatever. Yeah.
Here she is again at a nearby Home Depot a week later, raising a hammer at a Home Depot employee who tried to stop her.
All right, well, okay, hold on. Retail theft is one thing. Threatening wage cage employees is another. Don't you ever threaten none of these people. Come on now. Shouldn't do that.
Now, all of this criminal activity comes at a cost to all of us. Some of us, the most economically vulnerable, pay a bigger price. For instance, a Homeland Security investigations report issued last year.
Homeland Security. Why is Homeland Security doing investigations into the economic impact of theft? Can somebody explain to me? Who do they have on their payroll who does this math?
Here said estimates regarding organized retail crime found the average American family will pay more than $500 annually in additional costs due to the impact.
I'm actually gonna do like the Grug Neanderthal 3-head response to this, and I literally don't care what anything the DHS has to say about this. I don't care. I want an independent academic study done by economists. I literally don't care.
That's not a small amount of money for the nearly half of American households who reported that they could not afford a $400 emergency. And that was data from the Federal Reserve prior to the pandemic and prior to the inflation.
From the Federal Reserve? Wait.
That was data from the Federal Reserve prior to the pandemic. And
was the Federal Reserve? I don't think the Federal Reserve and the Homeland Security share email. Okay, guys. Corporate profits are at record levels, and independent economic studies done on the about the $400 emergency fund. Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, look, guys, listen. Corporations are posting record profits. 1. 2, when we had that inflation bubble a couple months ago, studies were done which indicated that a significant portion of the raised cost of goods was due to companies just arbitrarily raising the price because they could get away with it. I will never give a shit about companies saying, dude, you have to do something about this. Or like we'll raise the price on you. Yeah, we just paid all of our management like tens of millions of dollars in bonuses, and all of our shareholders are getting record profits, but like, we have no choice. I don't care. They can charge whatever they want. The system is rigged in their favor. What I care about is like I need more than this. Like why are we getting an estimate on the effects of retail theft from the DHS and from corporations? Like, what about a sociological study? I know that this might sound like I'm being kind of like persnickety or whatever, but if you listen to the government and corporations on how to solve problems like this, you know what they ask for? Drug war, more police. That's what they ask for. Hey DHS, hey corporate America, what are your proposed solutions for socioeconomic issues? More police, RoboCop, do RoboCop in real life, you know? No, I'm not going to listen to them. I want a sociological analysis of these issues. It seems to me like what we're looking at is a consequence of poverty and desperation for the most part. And I think that our primary concern as leftists should be institutional, where we address the underlying poverty and desperation, which will make people less likely to do this. I do not think that empowering loss prevention or having more police or whatever will fix these problems.
Due to the impact. That's not a small amount of money for the nearly half of American households who reported that they could not afford a $400 emergency. And that was data from the Federal Reserve prior to the pandemic and prior to the inflation driving up living costs even more today. Since stores are closing in response to the uptick in organized...
Need to see data on that. Also, seems like you can beat the trend by doing organized retail theft yourself. You know, maybe goods get more expensive, but you just nick $2,000 coffee machines to resell.
Retail theft, workers are losing their jobs. Walgreens alone has shut down 5 stores in San Francisco due to theft since the retail crime epidemic began. Now, keep in mind...
Can I see any info on that being why they closed, for one? Like step 1? Walgreens executive says shoplifting threat was overstated. In a call with investors on Thursday, the CFO of Walgreens, James Kehoe, said, maybe we cried too much last year over theft. Really? Can somebody 12-foot this article for me? Thank you. And this is from earlier this year. A Walgreens executive said this week the company, which cited organized shoplifting as the reason to close 5 stores. Oh, great. Okay. So when Anna Kasparian said they closed 5 stores due to shoplifting. She just took them at their word. She just took, the corpos said, oh yeah, dude, crime is tearing us apart while we get record profits. And she was like, oh, okay, I'll deal with that for you, sir. Thank you. And now they're saying it might have overstated the effect of theft in its business. Ah, I guess she doesn't know that her data is out of date, since they have apparently themselves retracted this. Maybe we cried too much last year, James Cahill, the company's chief financial officer, said during a Walgreens earnings call. Mr. Cahill said the company had also probably spent too much on security measures. Yes! Oh my god. It was a remarkable admission, retail experts said. Walgreens and other retailers have in recent years complained about an increase in shoplifting, inflaming political debates about crime. Mr. Cahill said Walgreens shrinkage, the industry term for inventory that was bought but cannot be sold predominantly due to shoplifting, was now around 2.5 to 2.6% of stables compared to around 3.5% last year, and it's stabilized. Oh my god, 3.5%. Walgreens received national attention in October 2021 when it announced it was closing 5 stores in San Francisco, citing shoplifting as the reason for the closure. In June 2021, a video of somebody shoplifting from a San Francisco Walgreens in his bicycle and with a garbage bag full of stolen merchandise riding past a television news report and security guard drew millions of views. Damn, it's almost like forming an opinion on crime and epidemic based on individual anecdotes and fearmongering from them is like the definition of reactionary political analysis. The San Francisco Police Department's data on shoplifting did not support Walgreens' explanation for the store closing. The analysis said that while not all shoplifting incidents were reported to the police, one of the stores that closed had only 7 reported shoplifting incidents in 2021, and a total of 23 since 2018. So, oh my god, so Anna Kasparian was so desperate to produce this narrative that she took the corpos at their word, ignored the corpos retracting what they said, and ignored the police disagreeing with the corpos. Oh my fucking god. Are we beyond gas leak now? Gas leaks can get pretty bad. Inventory shrinkage in the past 5 years was on average 1.5%, which surveyed 63 retailers in May and June 2022. We need the screen. God damn it. Walgreens profits. No, I still need to adjust that. Quarterly profits. Okay, guys, I've got bad news. Their Q3 profits were only $118 million. Because people don't need COVID tests and vaccines as much. I'm sorry, guys. It's true. It's Walgreens is basically broke. Only $500 million per year.
That those on a fixed income now have to spend more of their resources to travel even further in order to purchase groceries and other household needs. But those added financial costs we all have to pay to accommodate organized criminals is nothing compared to what—
Fuck neocon, bitch. Jesus Christ. Yeah, you have this broad socioeconomic issue, and like all conservatives, Anna Kasparian is obsessed with turning it into a conversation about crime, lying and misrepresenting statistics wherever necessary to make that the focal point of the conversation. Never mind wage theft being a larger issue, never mind record corporate profits, never mind the corporations themselves saying the panic was overstated. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. The only thing that matters is that when you worry about what's wrong with society and why your household is running out of money while you can't afford to pay rent, it's because of a bunch of poor, desperate people shoplifting from stores. Just don't look into the data.
What some retail workers are dealing with as they try to earn an honest living.
Coordinated groups are targeting stores, millions of dollars worth of goods. Retailers say they're growing.
I love to get my analysis from 24-hour news media broadcasts, which definitely don't highlight sensational stories for views and clicks, and definitely have a proportional representation of real issues.
More violent, putting shoppers and workers at risk, sometimes with tragic consequences.
What goes through your mind when you realize that your dad was essentially killed over 3 power washers?
Why the would you ask somebody that? What the Jesus Christ.
Can't imagine that any piece of equipment in Home Depot is worth a life.
When you saw the video of what happened to your dad, what was going through your mind?
Wish it would have been me.
That worker was 82-year-old Gary Razor, a retiree working at the Home Depot in Hillsborough, North Carolina. He sadly died after being shoved to the ground by an alleged thief.
Remember what I've said before about narrativizing? If the argument that one is making is that organized retail crime is a significant problem that affects all of us, this has nothing to do with it. This is a separate conversation about violent crime. Obviously, you shouldn't shove or hurt anyone. Also, by the way, hot tip, I don't think you should be doing shoplifting neither and get in trouble for that. My buddies, you don't want to get in trouble. You don't want to go to jail. Come on now. But like the thing that bothers me is the fear mongering. Like seriously, this is just like the classic white woman suburb neighborhood of calling neighborhood watch when a black teen is outside your house for a little bit too long. Terror of those around you. There are real problems. A lack of health care kills many people. Pollution, car accidents, heart disease. But you're really going to argue to me that organized retail theft is some kind of lethal concern? Or is this just a collection of anecdotes?
Who was then arrested, luckily, on a murder charge. The case against him is still pending. Now, there are other examples, like the following. At a Home Depot in Pleasant...
More anecdotes, no data. More anecdotes, no data. This is indistinguishable from any Fox News story. Don't look at the broader data. Don't listen to criminologists. Don't listen to sociologists. Just be terrified with story after story after story of individual instances of bad things happening, completely disconnected from context or data, to give you the impression that this is a larger problem than it is. Be scared, be scared, be scared.
Blake Mose, a 26-year-old employee set to be married in August, was fatally shot after he tried to stop a suspected thief. 2 people have been arrested on murder charges in that case. Now, these 2 victims aren't even a fraction of the other countless workers who have been assaulted as these thefts take place. Now, if you're LARPing as a socialist who pretends
here we go.
To value labor, maybe your act would be more believable if you showed just an ounce of concern for the workers.
Holy dude, she really is watching a lot of Destiny. It's actually like you have to give Crestiny, good lord, I'm tired. Credit to Destiny's rhetoric if it's infectious enough that I can see it in people who are trying to ape his style. Crestiny. Jesus, the spy politics. Yeah, no, it's like verbatim. And you'd think these stupid LARPing socialists would show a little bit of concern for all the retail workers that are hurting it. Yeah, like, that's definitely like the subject of convo. I mean, I did before she even mentioned it, so I won this little purity test. I mentioned it multiple times beforehand. I just don't like the idea of this being treated as, first and foremost, as an issue of like a crime, when it's really a socioeconomic issue. Crimes happen as a product of socioeconomic problems, largely. I guess what I want from Anna is an answer here. So she doesn't think that an uptick in poverty is causing this increase in shoplifting. Well, that's a really difficult case to make, because the data correlating economic inequality and crime is pretty strong. But what does she think it is? People being meaner? That's what reactionaries want you to think crime is. Crime isn't caused by poverty or inequality. Crime is caused by people being mean and evil and antisocial. And there's no social cause for it. There's no systemic problem to address because we already live in a meritocracy. But she doesn't argue we live in a meritocracy. She acknowledges that there are economic disparities and problems and systemic reforms are necessary. So what the f is going on? What does this mean? If you think there are systemic problems to be addressed, then what and how would they address these? And if you don't think they tie into this, then what? It's incoherent the exact same way her video on Portugal's drug reform was, where she acknowledged that it stopped working because conservatives cut the budget by 80%, but she spent the entire segment talking about it as though the program failed. The program worked and was a pride of Portuguese people. Then it got defunded. And she acknowledged that it got defunded. But then she kept talking about how it failed. That's not what failing means. You wouldn't say that Medicare for All failed because conservatives cut its budget by 80% and then it stopped working as well. If you say something failed, you're usually saying it failed on its own terms, not on other terms imposed on it, you know?
But I don't know. That must be a bourgeois concern of mine. So what now? What are the possible solutions?
Well, I think if you want to reduce the overall amount of crime, you should reduce the overall amount of economic inequality. And I think that we could do that in a number of ways, none of which have anything to do with increasing cop presence in stores or whatever the we're implying here. What solution? I want to hear. Do you think, okay, take your bets now. Is she going to offer a proposed solution to any of this? Or is she just going to say all of this and then go like, well, you know, we'll deal with it. I just wish the left would listen. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
The National Retail Federation wants the federal government to enforce more regulations toward online sellers like Amazon, eBay, Craigslist, and Facebook Marketplace. These are places where the thieves sell the stolen goods, to which the federal government has taken some action on. For instance, the newly passed Inform Act now requires online retailers to verify certain information about their vendors and sellers in order to combat the sale of stolen goods.
I think I'm actually okay with that. I have an ongoing jihad against Amazon since I ordered like 5 of those iPhone earbud to connector adapters, and I got like off-brand Chinese knockoffs that didn't work. Since then, the jihad has been ongoing. I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. I think the standards should be different for corporations than for individuals, because if you're selling like a bookcase on Facebook Marketplace, I don't think you should have to enter like 16 documents on the, you know, place where the trees were felled to make the wood. Yeah, you know, whatever. But yeah, principally, I think that's okay.
Online marketplaces that do not comply with this law could face more than $50,000 in fines for each violation. But retailers argue that this is not enough and would like Congress to allocate funds for a federal task force targeting organized retail crime.
Oh my, are we really doing this? Hey, this cabal of business owners is lobbying to have a federal law enforcement organization specifically tasked for shoplifters so we can lessen the, on average, 1.5% loss that we get annually from shoplifting. Let's just like Crime Bill 2.0 Company Town Edition. Let's go. Just do Cyberpunk, bro. Just do RoboCop, bro. Yeah, man. Here, I'm here from Langley. I'm with the Walmart division, and we suspect you of organized retail crime. I'm going to murder your family now. Seriously? Yeah, like a DEA for shoplifting. Yeah. Oh my God. This isn't even like a fucking neoliberal. This is some insane corpo shit. Anything for more cops, apparently? Yes, that's exactly what we need. Oh, and by the way, there's definitely no cost on the average taxpayer reflected in spending more money on law enforcement. That's definitely not something that comes back to bite people in the ass.
I'm not really sure if that's necessary.
Okay, thank God.
There are other proposals, though, in Congress as well. The Combating Organized Retail Crime Act, which would establish a coordinated multi-agency response and create new tools to tackle evolving trends in organized retail theft.
Why? What? Guys, it's shoplifting. They're not like using cyber tools to hack the mainframe and then teleport goods in and out of a bit. What do you... Coordinated multi-agency response? What are you talking about? Regular cops have all the tools that they need to deal with this. It's literally shoplifting. It's like the oldest crime. It's like people have been lifting up stuff that didn't belong to them and then running really fast in the opposite direction for basically all of human civilization. This is not like a new, like, we need to be equipped with the highest degree of social and technological advantages in order to perform in this new environment, this new battlefield of shoplifting. The f do you mean? Cops can't run as fast as the shoplifters. They have the point. We need to just give all of them segways or like wheelies or something, okay? The multi-agency response is just giving them wheelies.
Was introduced by the House of Representatives in February. We'll see if that legislation goes anywhere. Now, on a more local level, there are about a dozen state task forces investigating the issue. Homeland Security investigators say they're assisting in those efforts. And over the past 3 years, the agency has tripled the number of cases it's investigating, often using fraud-related and money laundering laws to open cases.
I love using the Department of Homeland Security's caseload as a metric for the severity of a problem. It's not like the DHS didn't increase the number of terrorism investigations they were doing after 9/11 a billionfold, which then conservatives used as a justification for continued investment in the DHS because the paranoia led to more investigations, which led to more paranoia and so on and so forth. God almighty. God help me.
But let's keep it real. Lax state laws need to be revisited. Evidence suggests that there is a small group of people committing these crimes over and over again.
Uh-oh.
They should not get to take advantage of bail reform if they're recommitting the exact same crime. A perfect example of this is highlighted in New York City. Nearly a third of all shoplifting arrests in New York City last year involved just 327 people. Collectively, they were arrested and rearrested more than 6,000 times. In other words, there are solutions that can, focus on solving this problem without reverting back to mass incarceration.
Denying incarcerated people bail is part of the incarceration problem. Okay, I'll be charitable here, and I will say that I do think there are, in some states, legitimate loopholes in bail reform. If you commit a crime, get arrested, post-bail, commit a crime, get arrested, post-bail, commit a crime, get arrested, post-bail, like 50 times in a row or something, like, I think it's reasonable to go like, okay, sonny boy, my good friend, my little buddy, let's just sit here in jail for a little bit longer while we work out your caseload, yeah. I think I'm fine with that. Obviously, it would have to be applied pretty carefully because conservatives like Anna will take like any excuse they can get, like give them an inch, they take a mile with regards to incarceration law. But I think there's some work that could be done there. That's okay. Careful, Vaush, you're gonna drive her to the left. That's true. She's such a good ally to us, and if I'm mean to her, she might be politically homeless. And that would suck for her, because if she was politically homeless, she would despise herself, like she does all homeless people.
In fact, we should maybe consider these solutions if we want to avoid going back to the old model. But look, I also want to address something broader. This data I've shared with you, along with the current crime-related trends that I've brought up multiple times on the show, has rubbed other left-wing shows the wrong way. In their view, stories like these serve as an obstacle to some of the proposals on the left that, quite frankly, I disagree with. I've never supported police or prison abolition. And I've yet to hear.
Okay, so this is disingenuous for a number of reasons. First of all, obviously Anna never supported police or prison abolition. She's not like a fucking communist. The idea that the only people who take issue with her are police and prison abolitionists is delusional. There have been videos she's been doing that have been getting significant amounts of dislikes, and they're not all from communists. Though it seems like they're bleeding off a little bit, so, the shift is moving onward. This is not like a group of communists think that this is an inconvenient truth to have truth brought to it. It's just that no real solutions have been proposed here. Anna essentially rebuked sociological analysis by arguing that there can't possibly be any relationship whatsoever between economic inequality and the increase in retail crime, fear-mongered with a bunch of individual anecdotes, lied about data, presented without any criticism or qualification the perspectives of corpos that they ended up taking back. And what conclusion are we left with here? That the solution to this massive uptick in retail crime is addressing the bail laws? That's it? And maybe like what? Federal task forces to tackle the elite advanced warfare battlefield crime of shoplifting? No, okay? The actual progressive solution to this, which Anna is not, but if she pretended to be, then she would agree with this. The actual progressive solution to this is very clear. You address the underlying inequality that leads to people being poor enough to want to do this. People do not just turn shoplifting into their main job out for fun, okay? Gang violence and gang crimes are produced by economic inequality. They don't just do that on their own. People join gangs because there aren't enough economic opportunities in their area for them to reasonably provide for themselves and their family. Or at the very least, they feel they can provide far more, which is important in a country that doesn't have proper healthcare systems, where you can be bankrupted by a single cancer diagnosis from a family member if they went down the organized crime route. Now, for centuries, the leftist attitude towards these problems has been, let's look at the underlying systems that cause people to act these ways. Anna's proposed solution is, let's listen to the DHS and corporations so we can give them bail reform and task forces to deal with this rising threat that I have overstated and isn't even really a threat because, again, corporate profits are through the roof. It's just wrong. It's totally disingenuous. It's completely wrong. We need immediate solutions, though, that work in the interim. Sure. How about investment in local homeless reduction by providing housing first initiatives? How about that? How about giving money back to people that they cities and states save by cutting back on their law enforcement? We know these things work. We have data from other countries. How about addressing our drug laws? How about working on mass de-incarceration and prison vocational programs so when people leave the prison system, they have skills they can rely on rather than going right back to the people and processes that got them locked up in the first place? I don't know. What about, like, learning anything from decades of criminological studies that exist and are out there, none of which tell you to listen to the DHS and create a federal task force to deal with people shoplifting coffee machines from Bed Bath & Beyond? What about the billionaires and their precious profits? Good news, they're higher than ever. And nothing that I'm addressing would bring them down, by the way. I'm not even talking about radical solutions. This is basic liberal stuff. All of this can be done. All of this is possible. Better subsidies or local stipends or an increase to food stamps for people in need. Better housing policies. Build more houses so people who live in coastal cities aren't seeing their rents rise 50% every 5 years, you know? Yeah, free nonviolent drug offenders. Give them the opportunity to live a real life. All of these things can be done. All of these things are solutions. We know why people are shoplifting. It's because they're poor and desperate and they're hopeless. We can fix these things. And it's not hard. And I'm not, again, just to be clear, nothing that I'm suggesting right now is radical or socialist or untested. Every single thing that I just mentioned is within the purview of liberal governance, for one, has been tested and done on both micro and macro scales to good benefit, and has been subject of decades of study. None of this is crazy or out there. On the other hand, I don't believe we have any data at all to suggest the purported severity of this problem, or that federal task forces are a necessary solution. But because Anna is a conservative, more police is the default response to any perceived social agitation. Just ridiculous how quickly her IQ dropped, you know? I guess that's what gas leaks do. Let's finish this crap video.
A convincing argument in favor of these policies. I have, however, supported the Nordic model for criminal justice and continue to do so. Over the past month.
Do the Nords have special task forces for shoplifting? What I don't know what that means. We mean we want nicer prisons? I want nicer prisons. I don't know what that means. I think the Nordic model for prison is much better than our model for prison. I'd like it if prisoners were treated humanely.
Two different people on the left, one publicly and one privately, urged me to avoid focusing on stories like organized retail theft.
Yeah, because the way you're focusing on it is by lying. So if you're talking about broader social problems, why are you talking about stories at all? You should be talking about, like, the systems underlying it. But what you've done is chain together a bunch of anecdotes to give people a false impression of severity. It's framing. Is she bitching about Lance being more correct than she is? Oh, well, he is, substantially so. Is she still angry with Lance? Yeah, what exactly did Lance do on Twitter, was it? Lance pointed out that she was wrong, and rather than address it because she knew she was wrong, she was like, heh, didn't you lose a debate a month ago? It was fucking pathetic. I do still like the fact that she, like, axed off any potential for directly confronting me through all of this because I called her a retard, which I'll continue to. But it's very obviously not because she has a preference for civility politics, but rather because she's scared of talking to me, which won't change. I don't expect that to change. Destiny's rubbing off on her. Well, that's something that hasn't rubbed off on her. Destiny is nothing if not desperate to talk to me all the time, and has been for years. So if anything, that's an element of her unique personality shining through. That's the little bit of individualism she maintains.
While the information I'm sharing is accurate, it allegedly hurts the left to share it. I want to be clear that while I agree with many left-wing policies, I'm not an activist, and I'm certainly not a propagandist. My responsibility is to be truthful to my audience and to share nuances of all the complex issues we discuss every day. Accuracy, fairness, and nuance is what I want to do.
It's literally the Fox News bit. Literally, it's this overemphasis. The overemphasis on saying, like, fair and balanced, fair and balanced, fair and balanced, because, like, the perceived credibility otherwise would be towards the obvious conclusion of bias and propagandizing and partisanship.
And if I wanted to be a propagandist, I sure as hell wouldn't be doing it for the salary I'm currently making.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships.
I will not show support. All right. That was a lot worse than I expected. She wants a bigger salary, doesn't she? No. She's just angry. I guess this is another Destiny trait or whatever, but it's like, it's spite stuff, right? Anna Kasparian isn't stupid, like, actually, even if she's retarded, she's not stupid. She's been an effective advocate for many good things for a long time, but there are some biases she's had unchecked, which we all do. And when confronted on those biases because she's weak-willed and insecure, she doubled down on them and rejected all criticism and instead fixated on rapidly alienating the people who are sensible enough to correct her on her mistakes and surrounding herself exclusively with people who are vitriolically defensive towards her. You know, it's just it's just people. You know, it's a difficult job. It's a difficult job.